Technology has helped the farmer keep up with the demand for food, and today's fast-paced lifestyle has paved the way for commercially prepared food.
Dak it-tadam li jużaw fix-xitwa ikun fih ħafna affarijiet li anka il-frotta tasal biex toqtol iż-żerja ġo fija li tiġi parti velenuża.
So have our consumption habits affected the quality of food on the market?
We are disconnected even from the earth nowadays. We don't even listen to our bodies anymore because our bodies are so loaded with chemicals. We can't be even in touch with our bodies anymore.
Scientific studies have done tests on human blood, basically, and found out that there is a huge amount of residues from pesticides in the human blood, which are much different to, say, someone's blood 50 or 40 years ago.
In the present climate, one goes back and thinks of the days before the Industrial Revolution, when men had to work along nature, and its biodiversity would supply for his needs. So what is now happening to the crop when technology is steering us away from traditional farming values?
Postijiet fejn huma aggressive jieħdu 5 prodotti fis-sena li ġarwa li l-art irrebellat. Tant għandha ġo fiha li rrebellat issa ma tistax issib tarfa dik għax ħatamlilha. Bil-forsi twaqqafha. Titħallija naturali, titmur naturali issa bil-forsa x'inkella prodotti bjew jinħarqulek, dew ma jkunux f'saħħithom, mordan.
With markets dictating what farmers produce, what is happening to our flora?
Nature is biodiverse in its natural environment. We've created a big disbalance in that by the effect that we've created with our industries. If we just leave things to be as they are, nature will take over because nature is supreme.
Man's intervention for plant survival throughout the ages has determined the survival of the human species. The Maltese have been dedicated to agricultural life for as long as they inhabited these islands. Agriculture has played an important role in the development of this land, but it now seems to be facing major challenges.
Malta, since ancient times, has lost a lot of its Mediterranean forest, and that has exposed the soil to the elements, basically the sun and the winds and the rains. And so you've ended up with soils exposed to the sun, the UV rays, where basically you're losing a lot of the microorganisms.
Malta's limitations of size, water supply, soil depth, and other factors relating to our consumption all facilitate to what might be its demise.
Għandek l-art ma tantx hija fertili għax fija l-alkaline għolja ħafna, għandek l-alkaline li għandna fil-Mediterran. Allura jfisser li inti bħala kwantità mhux se jkollok daqs ħadd ieħor fejn qiegħda art vulkanika. Biss l-art Maltija biex tħallija naturali ma tistax tieħu aktar minn prodott wieħed fis-sena.
So have our eating patterns influenced biodiversity?
To meet the demand, we had to cut the Amazon forest. So wildlife suffered. You have waste, which is going into the sea. So even the marine life suffered. We have climate change. So it's not just the environment which is suffering, but even the human being.
I think we're just basically still being driven by a market which is profit-driven. And when profit is the big limelight, you are not actually focusing on solving the actual problem, but you are more focusing on making profit.
Driving through the Maltese countryside, one can see the low hills with terraced fields that portray Malta's landscape. Malta's weather provides little rainfall and lots of sun, so the gardens also provide additional green to a somewhat dried land. With only 10 square kilometers of irrigated land on the island, the Maltese farmer cultivates a good variety of crops. Apples, tomato, potato, and other crops provide for the acquired taste of the Mediterranean cuisine that boasts of a rich nutrient content. Malta seems to be self-sufficient with regards to agricultural produce.
We tend to be a bit confused when choosing food because as we don't buy directly from the farmer, but we buy from hawkers or from the supermarket, and they are not properly labeled, we wouldn't know if we're really buying local stuff or imported stuff.
Malta's size has been viewed as an asset since the local produce does not need to travel much and the population can benefit from fresh crops. Moreover, the island is affected by population growth and factors like urbanization, adequate water supplies, global warming, and a big demand for food is having its toll on Malta's ecosystem.
We are all links that form one big chain. So what we as human beings do would affect the air, the sea, the animals, the vegetation.
Nature has a way of repairing itself to fix these problems, but when you then impose infrastructure in ways that don't take into account these measures, say you have roads, asphalt, you have more surface areas which don't allow for the water to percolate into the land.
Threatened by limited resources that are shrinking, there seems to be a need to design ways to help the plants and soil survive in this unfriendly ecological climate.
If you have a land which is very dry and you find ways on how to harvest water and incorporate it into that land, into design, you will straight away start seeing birds coming in, bees, insects, dragonflies, all the natural fauna that would love to have that on the land. So basically you are making a space which is welcoming to all these wild elements.
A practical approach to the problems of diminishing agricultural resources and threatened life support on productive landscapes is practiced by Pippi Gauci. Pippi, who works on the land in Bahria, has designed an integrated system of food production, housing appropriate technology.
These are used to generate power to pump the water to the level which is higher than the reservoir is. Basically, the reservoir irrigates everything by gravity, so we don't have to use any other energy, rather than gravity. But we do have some other places where trees have been planted and higher, so we just use these then to pump the water up there and irrigate them. We use drip irrigation system as well, so there's pipes like that, which mainly it goes underneath the mulch, so it also keeps cool.
Malta's dry weather conditions do not help the soil to remain moist, so applying a layer of organic matter to help the soil below them from drying up is known as mulching.
All that straw and other matter which we put down underneath them, that is basically helping the soil to regain its microclimate for the microorganisms that live in the first inches layer of the soil. So rather than have the sun scorching down right directly on it, it has that as a protective layer so that all the microlife can do its work. It's a very windy area where we are. So basically we've just built a traditional windbreaker with these giant reeds. Basically these reeds can be coppiced once every year from the valley bottom where they grow in abundance, and then they're carried and left to dry and then cut and put together like this so they break the wind. By using this we ensure a bit more of a good space for small trees to grow in the area. We have to get them here to climatize with the climatic conditions of this place. So basically in here there's almonds, pine, lemon. There's a mixture of trees here, and I like to put them all together just to see how they do and leave them in here for at least 1 year, just to climatize well into the area before they go out in their actual place which they will live the rest of their life. We've also included prickly pear, which is a living wind-breaking wall. It has flowers for bees and also very good fruit, very nice tasty fruit for us, while also itself is edible and rich in vitamin C. So, you know, when in the permaculture design we tend to keep everything functioning at levels where they have multiple functions, so to speak. So if you have a tree, you just don't just put a tree for one reason, but you know, try and integrate as many reasons why you've got the tree there as much as possible.
Permaculture is an approach of designing human settlements and integrating them with agricultural system that imitate the relationships found in natural ecologies. A permaculture design was introduced in the garden of Dar Fate Yakuba, a 200-year-old farmhouse that has been recently restored as a guest house for people with social problems. Father Mark, a Franciscan monk, is the brain behind this whole operation.
Il-kunċett ta' permakultura huwa intimament marbut mal-kunċett komunitarju. Fil-fatt jiena wieħed mill-definizzjonijiet li nagħti tagħha huwa organic farming f'kuntest ta' komunità. Għaliex imbagħad tinvolvi l-lifestyle tal-komunità, ġifieri mhux biss l-aspett agrikolu ta' bidja, imma anke kif tgħix il-komunità il-permaculture, ġifieri jien naf jekk għandek riċiklaġġ ta' skart, jekk għandek użu alternattiv ta' sorsi ta' enerġija, jekk għandek nuqqas ta' ħela, pereżempju, għandek dal-kunċetti kollha li huma marbutin mal-bniedem u mal-formazzjoni tiegħu holistika.
So how does the garden supply for this community at Fra Jakuba?
Bħalissa huwa żmien illi nesperimentaw u nitalmu kif inkabru l-prodott. Allura qed inkabru ftit minn kollox. Kwantitajiet żgħar, bħalissa pereżempju bżar, aħdar, brunġiel, meta jkun żmien il-patata, basal, bastard u kaboċċi u ġdur u x'nafjien. Issa kellna l-qaqoċċ ukoll din is-sena frawli. Nifhem ġifieri biex naraw daqsxejn u se nibdew nesperimentaw ukoll anke bl-alf tal-annimali jekk alla jrid. F'permaculture setting bħal dan, u importanti li jkollok water feature bħal din, għaliex peress li aħna ma nużawx pestiċidi biex nikkumbattu il-mart, setting bħal dan jattira dawk l-organisms li l-inna b'mod naturali jgħinuna nikkumbattu l-mart. Ġifieri, organizmi bħal żrinċijiet, per eżempju, il-painted frog ta' Malta, li jiġi waħdu, ifittex ambjent bħal dan, jissetilja, jikkolonizza. U aħna allura għandna alleat hawnhekk kontinu qed jgħix fil-qasam tagħna li jgħinna nikkumbattu l-mart.
Keeping crops free from pests has always been in the equation of food production. Diseases have to be eliminated and crops have to be protected from other living species. Since the introduction of chemical pesticides and fertilizers some 50 years ago, synthetic chemicals have been key players in crop production, posing a threat to the ecology.
People weren't educated on how to use, basically, these artificial fertilizers. They don't understand that kind of what is in that bottle, what is actually contained and what it's doing to the soil, what the repercussions are going to be a few years later.
So now farmers have to look at alternative ways to protect natural resources instead of damaging them with chemicals.
Mela inti ħadd uża silla jew inkella ful. Dawn iż-żewġ tipi huma biex jikkontrollaw kemm jista' jkun l-insetti u jżommu l-mart bot. U jintużaw flok il-fertilizzant. U dawna peress li fihom fl-eruq għandek dawka li huma nitrates naturali li mbagħad meta jinfaqgħu jiġu bakterja naturali u fil-warqa tagħha ssib il-potassium. Il-pjanta qed tittellaħħa f'saħħitha ħafna. Allura ma tantx tista' tiġi attakkata u sena wara l-oħra l-attakki tal-insetti jkunu anqas għax inti qed il-pjanta qiegħda tgħallimha li tkun kapaċi tirreżisti għal dik il-tip ta' insett. Meta tafsu.
A local producer of organic vegetables, Zepi, owns a 10-hectare farm on the cliffs of the southern coast of Malta at Fawara. Zippy has dedicated 30 years of his life to agriculture, and biodiversity has played a very important part in the production of crops.
Toma tal-prodott Malti meta jkun kabbar sewa hawnhekk. Mawx bħalu, it-tadam, l-eberġi. Okay? Kollok il-bżar, pepper hemmhekk biex jiġu mhux l-istess, biex jiġu repellents għal xulxin. Biex wieħed jgħin il-ieħor. Ħabba l-ismel tagħhom. U din kun nista' jekk ikun ħafna xemx nista' nagħtiha bidrab. Ħallim ix-xemx ma taħkemix.
Natural fertilizers have always made part of Zippy's recipes for effective plant growth. The ecology provides us with dried leaves as seaweed and animal manure, but Zippy has some other means for giving his plant its healthy doses of nutrients and the process protecting it from excessive heat.
Kull area jrid ikollok xi ħaġa tal-herbs ħalli tiġi repellent ħabba l-insetti. Tara din? Basil. Biex iżomm, biex ma jinfaqax biex jemxi. Tara? Ara kif iżomm. Ix-xitla mejta? Ix-xitla mejta. Ara. X'test dak. Ix-xitla mejta u t-tadam jibqa' sħiħ. Dak iżomm for weeks. Hekk. U jibqibes, sħiħa. Tara, dan terraċċu, l-għadam ta' zabux dak, daku. Dak għandek 10 years minna taġa l-art. Biex tispiċċa għandek 10 years. Għax dik għawlek fil-wiċċ, għax ħafifa, injam. Għallom meta jieħu, u għek dejjem jitla fuq, mux jinżel isfel bil-maqlub. Mux jinżel għal-isfel, jibqa l-għek dejjem fuq. U nutrienti dejjem fil-ewwel 3 porziri jkunu. Mux jibqaw bħal nitrati jmorru l-ek isfel, għall-akwafer da jibqa fuq. Dejjem jibqa fuq. Allora l-pjanta tibqa terġa' tieħu minnu, dejjem dejjem jitmermer. Hemm ħafna affarijiet oħra bħal traps naturali. Kif tagħmel siġra li nsejħula siġra ta' sakrifiċċju biex l-insett jippreferi dik is-siġra mill dik is-siġra l-oħra. Il-warqa li qegħdin nagħmlula il-lime fuqha u xaħx. U biex tipproteġi s-saħħa ħabba x-xemx, ħabba l-UV, biex ma jifqaħħiex il-barqa, ma tgħallihiex, ma tiġix boiled.
"50 years of synthetic chemical use has not only posed a threat to the ecology, but is also having adverse effects on human health.
Fil-fertilizzant hemm tip ta' antibiotics. Jekk tieħu din tip ta' antibiotics mill-frotta, jista' jkun li jagħmel ħsara ma tkunx żgħira. Bħala nutrienti, inti minn għalik li qed tiekol pereżempju qed tiekol frotta ta' nutrienti AB u flok qed tiekol frotta ta' nutrienti issibhom li dik qed tiekol parti valenu.
The chemicals that are used, unfortunately, are byproducts of the oil industry. And this is not present not just in our food, but even on the products that we put even on our skin. This is something which is being taken internally through food, being put externally through our skin. So all the body is absorbing these products all the time. We are seeing now the younger people being on medications for certain ailments at an earlier stage than like 10 years ago. There isn't the link with what is happening with the food that we are consuming.
Organic foods seem to be the right choice for those concerned with the environment. However, proof supporting the health benefits of organic crops seems to be overshadowed in today's ever-growing market.
People nowadays go for convenience. They go for pre-packed. They don't take the time, they don't put the dedication to prepare their own food. So they are giving this responsibility. That is a very great responsibility that you have to nourish yourself and nourish the family. They're putting it in the hands of the manufacturers.
Jekk maħniex sa nirreaġixxu naqra aggressività vija bil-biċċa li kemm jista' jkun tinżel sistema tal-pestiċidi u tan-nitrati sa nsibu ruħna naqra fi problemi kbar.
So the question remains, How can we face agricultural problems in the future?
If we had to create this respect, mutual respect, like for example in America they have the CSA, which is the Consumer Supported Agriculture, where you support your farmer. So then your farmer feels responsible, apart from feeling respected, feels responsible to give you good natural food.
Mankind has lived for thousands and thousands of years before we've had pesticides and before we've had artificial fertilizers and all the rest. Today we've got technology, but we just need to use it in the correct way.